Okay, just imagine this for a second. The sun is rising over a city that's just completely wrapped in grief. Its leader, its guide, the prophet himself is gone. And in that one moment, in that profound loss, you're the one tasked with holding everything together. Not just a community, but the entire future of a new world faith. Today, we're going to dig into how exactly that impossible task was met.
I mean, really think about that question. It's got to be the ultimate leadership challenge, right? The one single source of law, of inspiration, of divine guidance, he's no longer there. So, what happens next? How do you actually turn a spiritual movement into a stable, functioning state that's built to last?
Well, the person who had to come up with the answer, and fast, was Abu Bakr. In an instant, the weight of a brand new nation and the entire legacy of the Prophet landed right on his shoulders. So let's explore how he rose to meet that monumental challenge.
To really get what he accomplished, you have to feel just how fragile this moment was. You can almost picture it, can't you? The Prophet's pulpit suddenly empty. This wasn't just some political changeover. No, this was a massive shift from an era of direct divine revelation to an era of human administration.
The people were in shock. I mean, what they craved more than anything was just a sense of reassurance. They needed stability. They needed a firm but gentle hand to guide them, and a really clear sign that the mission, their whole world, was going to continue. The stakes just could not have been any higher.
So how did Abu Bakr bring that stability? Well, he didn't try to invent some brand new system out of thin air. Instead, he put a foundational blueprint for governance into place that would turn out to be absolutely essential. Let's take a look at what that was.
And this whole blueprint was really built on two incredibly powerful ideas. First, making sure there was continuity with the Prophet's way of doing things, and second, effectively delegating authority to trusted leaders. Sounds simple, but in practice, it was profound.
His very first move? It was a masterstroke of leadership. Instead of some big political reset, Abu Bakr confirmed every single governor and commander that the Prophet himself had appointed. Now, this wasn't just about respecting his predecessor. It was a powerful message to a very nervous community that said, the foundation is secure, the mission continues, and it's unchanged.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the sheer scope of responsibility he handed over. A governor wasn't just some administrator. Far from it. They were a spiritual guide leading the prayer. They were a judge deciding on matters of justice. They were a military commander. And maybe most importantly, they were an educator of the faith. This whole system created this robust, decentralized administration that really empowered local leadership across a huge and growing land.
But here's the thing. Delegating all that power didn't mean he was ruling from a distance. Actually, it was the exact opposite. Abu Bakr's leadership style was defined by another crucial element: constant, genuine consultation. He set up this really clear, consistent process. Before any big decision or any important appointment, he would gather the most senior and respected companions. Only after he heard what they had to say would he act. And even then, the conversation never stopped. He kept an open line of communication with all of his officials all the time.
And his inner circle? It was truly a council of giants. We're talking about figures like Umar and Ali. He was constantly seeking their wisdom, making sure that the direction of the state was guided by a collective vision, not just the will of one man.
You know, this chart really illustrates the nervous system of that early state. It was a dynamic, two-way street. Abu Bakr sent out instructions and advice, of course, but just as importantly, messengers were constantly riding in with news from the provinces, and governors would travel all the way back just to meet with him face to face. This is what kept the whole administration responsive and totally unified.
Of course, at the end of the day, none of these structures, continuity, delegation, consultation, none of it would matter without the most critical ingredient of all, unity. In a moment that could have easily fractured everything, securing the allegiance of the key companions was absolutely everything. This incredibly powerful statement came from Az-Zubayr, one of the Prophet's closest companions. As he swore his allegiance to Abu Bakr, these words weren't just a personal promise. No, they were a public signal of consolidation, and it came at the most critical hour imaginable.
And the historical sources really emphasize this. While you might hear other accounts, the sound reports indicate that both Az-Zubayr and Ali gave their allegiance on that second day, which was a crucial demonstration of solidarity that immediately stabilized the entire community.
Okay, so we can't ignore a pretty well-known point of historical discussion, the issue of inheritance, which was raised by some of the Prophet's family. How was this incredibly delicate situation handled?
So here's the crucial point, the key piece of information. It's this specific religious principle. Abu Bakr wasn't just creating a new policy out of nowhere. He was simply upholding what he had heard directly from the Prophet, that the legacy of a prophet isn't material wealth for their family, it's charity for the entire community.
And Abu Bakr's response was rooted entirely in that principle. He basically said, I will not abandon anything that I saw the messenger of Allah do. It wasn't about power or control. It was about following precedent. And according to the sources, once this prophetic teaching was clarified, the matter was settled. Not by force, but by a shared commitment to a higher principle.
And if you want a perfect picture of that unity, nothing demonstrates it more than this moment. When Abu Bakr decided he was going to personally lead an army into battle, it was Ali who physically stopped him, pleading with him not to risk his own life. This was not the act of a political rival. This was a loyal advisor, someone deeply concerned for the survival of the leader and the state itself.
So when you put all these different pieces together, you start to see a really clear and powerful strategy for state building emerge, one that created a lasting foundation for everything that was to come.
So these were the 4 pillars that Abu Bakr established. You've got this profound respect for continuity. You have the wisdom to empower others through delegation, a humble reliance on consultation, and a relentless focus on a unity that was grounded not in power, but in shared principles.
And all of that together, that was the answer to that huge question we started with. This was how a stable, functional, and principled state was crafted right in the immediate shadow of a prophet, providing a clear path forward out of what could have been the darkness of grief.
It leaves us with a final thought, right? A question that kind of echoes through time. When you look at this model, emphasizing continuity during big changes, empowering your team, always seeking counsel, and leading from a place of unshakable principle, what timeless lessons can we all draw from a system that was designed for a different world over 1,400 years ago?